Well, Merry Christmas, fellow Texans. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. When does hazing become a crime? This is going to be a great story because circle back at about 4 o'clock, the dad is going to be coming on the show. But I wanted to start with this even without the dad being able to call in because it also dovetails very nicely with my second story. I guess you'll see all this unfurl as the show goes on. So stick with me. And if you have to leave, come back by 4 o'clock if you want to hear the dad on this story. WFAA has the report out of Lewisville.
Speaking of, two North Texas parents say their son is recovering from a traumatic hazing incident carried out by his football teammates in Lewisville ISD. It was caught on camera, and we need to warn you, this video is hard to watch. The family shared it with our Luke Clary because they feel it's important to see.
Nobody's taking this seriously. So what are we left to do?
They say seeking accountability has been like a full-time job since learning their teen was hurt and humiliated in a hazing in mid-October.
Meeting with administrators, emailing, following up with the police detectives, and not getting anywhere.
Flower Mound parents Amy and Doug are going by just their first names to protect their son's identity. Providing this video of the incident. We're showing a blurred version to give context while protecting the identities of the students involved.
Good.
The reason it needs to be shown is the fear that he's going through.
They say it happened after a football team dinner. The junior stripped of his clothes by a group of seniors and shot repeatedly with a pellet gun.
Did he say how painful that was?
He said it was so painful. And you can hear by the screams.
He's woken up several times in the night. Don't shoot, don't shoot.
Lewisville ISD said it conducted an extensive investigation involving interviews with more than 90 students and staff, as well as 13 families who came forward. The district says it did not find evidence of systemic hazing, but it did find a history of hazing incidents among a small group of student athletes. It said appropriate disciplinary action was taken, but did not say what that was, citing federal privacy laws. The Double Oak Police Department would not confirm the status of its case, but emails from detectives to the family, shared with WFAA, indicate a criminal investigation is underway. Just not fast enough for Doug and Amy.
When will you be able to say if the job is complete?
I think when arrests are made and when administration takes further action with the leadership.
A job they never asked for and one they're not ready to quit until their son sees justice. In Flower Mound, I'm Luke Clary.
So you hear the kid in the background screaming. And the first question I have is, isn't hazing kind of voluntary? Like, isn't it something you could avoid if you wanted to? Isn't it something you could stop if it really got out of hand? You know, the fact that you couldn't see, but they were either in a really big garage with a high ceiling or they were in like a separate General Steel building, like a regular old pavilion, maybe like a dad's workshop in the backyard. But there was quite a bit of room. I think there was a pool table there, and he didn't have his shirt on. He was just running around in his drawers, and he got shot a few times with a pellet gun. Now he's screaming and dodging, but here's a couple things you don't see in the video. You don't see him go up and punch the guy that is shooting him with the gun. You don't see him run out of the room to avoid future shots. He's just kind of protecting his face and lifting his leg and sort of kind of doing the Heisman pose almost as sort of like a defensive move. And so why wouldn't you leave the scene if it really is so bad that it's a crime? You can't just walk out the door. You can't run out the door. How do you get naked in the first place? Or he's not naked. He's wearing his drawers. But how do you let them take your clothes off in the first place and then continue to be there? How did you go to their house or get in this situation after the football dinner? This all sounds voluntary up to the point to where they took it a little too far. And now they're saying people need to be arrested. Next question. Why blame the school? This wasn't a school event. This wasn't on school property. This wasn't done by school employees. These guys happen to go to the same school. And they happen to play together on the school football team that seems to be the basis for the hazing. But what the hell is the school supposed to do about it? They supposed to police their kids even when they're not on campus, just 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when they're in their dad's garage at 9:30 or 10:30 at night? So the question we have to ask in all of these situations is, when does hazing become a crime? Because look, you can imagine, we've probably talked about this before on WBAP and through the 2 decades of the James Show past. And one of the defining characteristics that I think most of us can agree on is when there's something done that wasn't agreed upon before. When there's something that's done that there wasn't consent for. If you consented to get shot with the BB gun and you thought maybe they were just going to shoot you once and they shot you 4 times, I don't know if that's a crime. But I think some people are just against hazing because they don't get it. I think a lot of women don't get hazing, and I think a bunch of beta males don't get hazing. But hazing is something that comes with the territory throughout man culture, throughout all of history. I think about the hazing that was described by Chris Kyle in American Sniper. Remember that movie? Well, it was based on a book that he wrote about his tours. And when he was going through the Navy SEAL training, the hazing that they did, brutal, absolutely brutal. They'd beat the crap out of each other. It would almost always end with someone being choked unconscious. And part of me, the stupid animal man part of me, thought that was kind of fun. I wish I had some friends that would, we could beat each other up and choke each other out every once in a while. Heck, some of my friends get upset when I don't text them back fast enough. So, I don't have answers to this, because this is one of the reasons I like this story. There's a lot of gray area here. Did this hazing get out of control? I don't know. What did they agree to beforehand? How did it get to that situation? Because people have tried to haze me, and if I'd have been in that situation, I know exactly how I would have reacted. They'd have said, James, take your clothes off. I said, no. Well, just take your shirt off. No. What are you going to do? We're going to shoot you with this pellet gun. No, you're not. Yes, we are. And if they tackled me and took my clothes off, the second I got up, I would either start punching people or grab a cue stick and start swinging it like a baseball bat, crack it over somebody's head, or I'd run out the door and just take off. If I couldn't physically win the confrontation that I could have started, I would remove myself from the situation. You can't haze me. So I don't know. Of course, it's easy for me to say I'm not in that situation. I don't know what all the parameters are. You're right. But that's why we need to talk about this. 800-288-9227. If you have a crazy hazing story, if your kid went through a crazy hazing story, you have any insight on this, the people in Lewisville, I'd love to hear from you. 800-288-9227. Now, we're still going in our last week here on the Cumulus Kids Toy Drive, 38th annual Cumulus Kids Toy Drive. And really, all I'm asking for here, monetary donations. If you wanted to do the unwrapped brand new toy and drop it off at a Sandpack location or a Kroger or whatnot, let's put that in the past. And look, the good news is this is the easier situation. All you got to do is go to a website, click a link, and fill out a form and donate $20, $40, $50 maybe. So go to WBAP.com, the WBAP app, or you can text the word kids to 800-288-9227. We've made it real easy. We've got it on all the platforms. We can do everything but text the number ourselves. So you need to do that. Text the word kids, KIDS, to 800-288-9227. When does hazing become a crime? That continues next on The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So when does hazing become a crime? It's the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP, your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. I didn't hear them talk about this show today. They might talk about it tomorrow, though, because it's kind of starting to go viral a little bit. And so I thought that was that would be an interesting discussion to have, whether it's a local story or not. What we have is a Lewisville football player who went to some football banquet dinner thing, and then I imagine sort of the end of the season awards, Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, things like that. And then afterwards, the guys were hanging out. It looked like they were at a private residence in someone's barn or workshop. And you see the kid, and it's mostly blurred out video, and rightfully so, because he's a minor, and he's running around in his drawers. And the seniors there's one guy that shot him with a pellet gun a few times. I don't know how many times he was shot with the pellet gun, but those things hurt. I've been shot with a pellet gun. In fact, I remember the first time I shot my friend Chad with the pellet gun on accident, or with BB gun. Hit him in the stomach. Man, he cried crazy. And I was like, well, it didn't even break the skin. He's not bleeding. It just left the red spot. And so in order to sort of learn my lesson, I know this sounds stupid, but I turned the gun on myself and shot myself in the shoulder once just to see what it felt like. Oh my God, it hurt so bad. And it was just, it wasn't even like a real gun, because don't think of anything like this. It's just like a thump. Still. Okay, I get it. It hurts. It hurts really bad. If I were him and they said, we're going to haze you, and I said, what are you going to do? We're going to shoot with the pellet gun. I would say no. And you couldn't force me into it. But I just have some questions on how voluntary was this transaction? Are these guys not your friends? Do you not trust them? Then why are you hanging out at their house so late at night? Did you not want to take your clothes off? Did they forcibly disrobe you? After you were forcibly disrobed, you didn't leave the situation? I have a lot of questions here. And, this looks bad, but this doesn't look like a crime, and the parents are calling for the kids to be arrested. I think that's a step too far. This is Rick in Waco. You're on WBAP. Hey, Rick.
Hey, what's up, James? Hey, I have a suggestion. Why don't they get someone the kid really respects, take him in another room, kind of privately, and ask him, dude, were you hurt? Were you damaged in this hazing event? Well,
he was hurt and damaged. They had the welts. They had pictures of the welts from the pellet gun, and they were playing it on the news.
I want to know if he feels like he was hurt. And if he wasn't, he says, no, my parents are just blowing this out of proportion. They need to play that to the judge and say, see, there was no damage. Why are these parents coming after these kids? That's just my suggestion, man.
So you think the son's being drug along this path by his parents, or could be drug along this path? Because one thing that well, no, if my parents wouldn't embarrass me like that, but
I'm either.
Okay, so the dad said the one part of the WFAA report that was great, an important piece of information was he said the son has been waking up yelling, "Don't shoot!" Like he's having nightmares, like there's some sort of mental scarring from your friend shooting you with the pellet gun. And that kind of sounds, if that's true, wow, I can't believe this guy got traumatized by an air gun. But who am I to say what causes mental trauma?
Well, if the son comes up and says, yes, I was hurt, and yes, I'm having nightmares, then he has the right, and they have the right to seek punitive damages against the other kids, as well as, civilly and criminally.
Well, it'd have to be punitive damage. There's nothing compensatory there. But okay, that's a good test. Rick would ask the kid himself, not in front of his parents. I don't know if that would help. I think he would still, lie and go along with it, because his parents would know it was him. This is Brent in Lake Weatherford. You're on WBAP. When is hazing a crime?
James, have you ever stayed up for 5 days without any sleep?
No, we had a contest when I was in college. I went to Bug Tussle Baptist University, and I made it. How long did I make it? I think I made it not far, like 50 hours or something. And the guy who won was Pat. He stayed up for 63 hours.
Well, we were up for 5 days. I was at Texas Tech, won't tell you the fraternity, and it was called Hell Week. And 5 days, you never slept. They'd let you leave at 6 in the morning to go home and, shower, and you had to shave. You had to be presentable. And all night long, we'd get hazed. We did knuckle push-ups. We did tire rallies. During the day, we worked for churches and schools. We did lawn work. We did all type of things for all these organizations around Lubbock. And at night, these guys, we were dropped off out in the middle of nowhere, up teen times, and you've got so many hours to get back into town. And so the great thing about it, and we drank a lot of water, we drank a lot of fluids. You had to, work out for sports, intramural sports during the day. And after 5 days without any sleep, and if somebody didn't get back, because everybody went home, you had to do knuckle push-ups till everybody got back once you were supposed to be back in an hour. I went to sleep that night at midnight when I finally found out I was going to be a fraternity brother, and woke up the next morning at 7 or 8 o'clock, and I had purged everything out of my body. I think I felt the best I'd ever felt for 2 days during Hell Week. And I'll tell you, the fraternity was Alpha Tau Omega, and it was a great experience.
So what do you think of when you hear this story about the kid in Lewisville who's getting shot with the pellet gun? Are you trying to say, a little bit of suffering, a little bit of hardship makes you better?
Well, I don't know. I don't think you can do that, but knuckle push-ups and other things we did, tire rallies. You ever, taking a big truck tire and you went up and down hills. Of course, good thing about Lubbock, there wasn't any hills.
Yeah.
But you did all this stuff in service work during the day, and then and these guys they would mess with your mind at night. They'd talk about your girlfriend.
See, that doesn't sound fun, Brent. I can't believe people voluntarily do this, and I think more people agree with you than me. But I'm a guy you can't haze. Hey, we're going to keep you up for 5 nights. The hell you are. I'm going to go to sleep.
We didn't know that. We never knew when Hell Week was going to end, and that was so intriguing to do that.
It's kind of built into the name, don't you think? You don't think Hell Week's going to last for a week, Brent? I'm sorry, I'm just out of time. Thanks for sharing your story there. If you have any hazing stories to put this into context, do you think this hazing is a crime? Making a kid take off his shirt and shooting him with the pellet gun a few times? Is that really so horrifying you deserve to give people a criminal record and throw them in jail? Isn't hazing somewhat voluntary? 800-288-9227. More calls and another story about maybe less active parenting coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, sports fans, James Parker here for the Prize Picks app, and we are walking right into bowl season. And if your team is in the thick of it, whether they're in the playoffs or in one of these other bowls, sometimes they have like the chicken finger bowl or whatever it is. You can add a little bit more fun to the football you're already watching with the Prize Picks app. And look, Thursday night game tonight, if you want to get in on that, like Kirk Cousins, the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, 206.5 passing yards. I bet you he can get more than that. So they're playing against Tampa Bay. You can go look at their quarterback, Baker Mayfield, 219.5 yards. I think he can get more than that. So you choose more on both of them. And so right there, I make a lineup. It could be 2 to 6 players. If I just stop there, I can put up $20 and I can win $55. So I hit submit lineup. And then if all goes well, I turn a little bit of money into a lot of money with America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, Prize Picks. If you're just getting started, I can give you a little bonus action here. Download the Prize Picks app. Use promo code WBAP. You get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. So do it. Download Prize Picks for the game you're going to watch tonight. Use the promo code WBAP. Get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. So we're just trying to work out on when hazing becomes a crime. I feel like this story is the gray area in that algorithm, that flow chart. And it comes out of Lewisville. A kid, a football player, after a football banquet, went to a private residence where it looks like they're in a garage or a workshop of some sort, and take his clothes off. He's running around in his drawers. They're screaming mean things to him and shooting him with the pellet gun. You heard the dad say that he was hit 8 times. Now, that's a lot. That's a lot. I think before the first one, I would have quit. After the first one, I would have started swinging punches or throwing cue balls at people or pool balls, billiard balls at people, or maybe using a pool stick as a baseball bat upside someone's head, because I wouldn't take 8. So, reminder, he's going to be on the show at 4:15, and we'll talk to him directly on the James Show. That might be a really awkward conversation, and I know you love that. But the thing that always comes back, and I'm not a legal scholar, to the defining point is consent. You know, that's the difference between most assault and batteries versus I was just having fun. If I go up and I punch someone on the sidewalk, clearly that's assault, that's a battery. I punched them. That's a crime. Why? Because they didn't consent to it. But if me and Mike Train put on boxing gloves and we get in a ring and we start punching each other, that's not a crime. Why? Because we agreed to get punched in the face. We agreed to punch the snot out of each other. We agreed to something that any reasonable mind would expect could be injurious. Just trying to use a big word. Go with me here. So I can't get in the kid's head, but did he know he was going to get shot with the pellet gun? Did he? Because if he went there knowing he was going to get hazed, if he went there knowing he was going to get shot with the pellet gun, if he knew that when they told him to take his clothes off, there was going to be a pellet gun, and if he knew after the first shot that there was going to be more, if he knew after the 7th shot that there was going to be more, and he still stuck around, how is that hazing? How is that a crime? I guess it's hazing, but how is that a crime? I don't get it. I don't get it. Tom, Flower Mound, you're on WBAP. Hey, Tom.
Hey, how's it going there? I'm I know a lot more of the facts. I think you got some of your facts messed up a little bit on this.
Well, I might. Please help me, because it happens all the time.
Right. Well, you know, it had nothing to do with Lewisville. It was actually, from a Flower Mound school.
Okay. I say Lewisville because it was Lewisville ISD. That's all.
Oh, okay. Okay. Right. Okay. Well, anyway, so our son was kind of indirectly involved. He didn't do anything, but, it's still an ongoing investigation. So, I'm just not going to say a lot, but, this was actually an assault, and it was also a kidnapping.
Well, then that sounds like it's not voluntary. And if it's a kidnapping, then hell yeah, this is a crime.
No, it was completely involuntary. He was coerced over to that house by some of these thugs, and that's all they are thugs. And there was nobody told you that there was 4, 5, 6, 300-pound linemen there that made him take his clothes off, that wouldn't let him leave. And there was 2 different shooters, not just one shooter. There was 2 different shooters. He got shot at over 40 times, and about 10 of them made contact. It was a real bad. It was a bad situation.
Explain how does one get coerced into a situation like this? What did you mean by that?
Well, he was told he was going to be buddies. He was an underclassman. They were all seniors. Starting varsity seniors on that team, and he was going to get a chance to start. And, some of them didn't like the fact that he was going to get, probably maybe started in their place. So it was kind of maybe a little bit of a vendetta type thing going on. Maybe, I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't want to say a lot.
Okay, so now what you're describing, Tom, isn't even hazing at all.
No, this was far beyond hazing.
Well,
Far beyond
it's not even far
hazing.
beyond it. It's not hazing. It's not like some sort of initiation ritual that they put everyone
No,
through,
no,
and
no.
everyone who's
It's-
gonna, wear our
it's-
jacket has to go through this goofy little thing that we always do.
This went further than bullying. This went further than bullying. This was this was an outright assault and kidnapping because the guy's car keys was taken away from him and thrown across the road in the ditch, from what I understood. And
Okay, well,
he was
look,
forbidden to leave.
one more question. Why does he stay in the room? If they start shooting at you, why don't you just run out and be like, I'm going to go look in the ditch for my car keys?
Can you take 300-pound linemen?
Well, I would be in a fist fight with them instead of getting shot with a gun. Yeah. I mean, I can't take them, but
then you're gonna wind up with broken bones in the ER probably. Either way, you're gonna wind up in the ER. But I don't know. He didn't. This kid, I barely got to know him a little bit. Not everybody has that fighting spirit in them.
All right. Well, if what you described is true, then this is absolutely a crime.
It's 100% a crime. And like I said, Double Oaks was leading the investigation, and every time, I don't know, it's a big fiasco. I mean,
well, Tom, your new information has changed the whole story because they made it sound like when they say this is a hazing incident, I imagine that the regular, the journey to becoming a varsity football player is the seniors have to do some sort of hazing incident. And I think of like Dazed and Confused or whatnot when people lined up to go get hazed. And do we all know that reference, Dazed? Have you ever seen Dazed and Confused, Garrett? Dazed and Confused. Thank you very much for your call, Tom. That's a game changer. Tom and Flower Mound's call is a game changer. You know what I'm talking about, Garrett? Have you ever seen Dazed and Confused? Oh, I don't. Okay. Well, you have some homework, sir. All right, coming up next, we have the story of some football players who aren't acting too good in Florida, of all places, and we have another one of these conundrums where my question is now with the parents and not wanting them to go to jail. 800-288-9227. It's almost the opposite of this story. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, we are in the 38th annual Cumulus Kids Toy Drive. We're in the home stretch. We are still looking for donations. There's still a chance for you to be an angel and give some needy kid in North Texas a Christmas they otherwise wouldn't have. You haven't missed it yet. It's not too late. Go to WBAP.com, the WBAP app, or you can text the word KIDS, KIDS, to 800-288-9227. We'll send you a link back. You can click it, fill out the form. And look, all I'm asking for, $20. You got $20? If you can do more, that's amazing. If you think you can afford it, I think you're lying to me if you say you can't do $20. So WBAP.com, the WBAP app, or text KIDS, KIDS, to 800-288-9227. Thanks to everyone who gave us a lift with this. Kroger in Midlothian and Plano, thank you very much. The Sampac Auto Group, thank you very much. Dan Harker and the Empower Home Team, thank you very much. It's the 38th annual Cumulus Kids Toy Drive. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. For those of you who've been with us for a while, I just want to remind you that we're going to have the dad on at that last story about the hazing incident, that if what Tom from Flower Mound told us isn't even hazing at all, he's going to be on about 4:15, 4:18-ish. So come back if you have to step away, and be sure to check that out, because this next story kind of follows the same complaint here, where, but the opposite. The parents, the coaches, I have no idea what's going through their mind. A football team from Philadelphia goes to Florida, and they figure for, a side quest just to kill some time, they're going to go steal more than $2,000 worth of items from a Dick's Sporting Goods. They call it shoplifting, but $2,000.
The 2025 United Thoroughbreds football team out of Philadelphia had a great season and made it all the way to the championship game that would be played in Florida. But 8 members of the team made a bit of a stupid choice just hours before the game. What you're seeing is security footage from Dick's Sporting Goods, where they allegedly, of course, stole more than $2,000 worth of stuff. Being that this is Florida, this was not a good idea.
So, okay, I'm interested in the story. Here's where you're about to really be interested in the story. Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd. He's the guy that does the funny things where he makes fun of people's appearances, and it's hilarious. You know, someone's uglier than a mud fence, or someone is coyote ugly. That guy. He had a press conference, and look, kids are bad. Obviously, these are some bad kids. I think it's amazing that 8 of them all agree that, hey, let's go be thieves together. There's not one of them that says, hey, that's kind of the wrong thing to do. That's criminal, immoral, unethical, doesn't even pass muster with the 10 Commandments. The parents may be just as bad.
So when we notify the coach who is responsible for them, you would think he would be interested in holding them accountable and responsible. Instead, he goes to the deputies and begs them not to take these young men into custody. Oh, don't arrest them. Drop the charges. Let them go. And then when we said no, then they go to Dick's Sporting Goods, to the manager, and said, oh, don't charge them. Don't charge them. They were not taking bubble gum, one piece to chew. They stole over $2,000 worth of products, over 47 different products they stole. And then when it was evident that they were going to be arrested, then the coach says, don't you guys have anything better to do? What are all these deputies doing here? Don't you have anything better to do than arrest these kids? You're way off base here, buddy. Way off base. You're the ultimate loser. If you'd been coaching these kids up right, if you knew where they were, if you didn't allow them to Uber away, they would have played in a ball game Saturday night. Maybe you steal stuff in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and get away with it. If you come here to Polk County and steal, there's no notices to appear. There's no warnings. You're in handcuffs and taken to the county jail or taken to juvenile lockup, period. Here's a note to people in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you hold kids accountable and responsible, and they know if they go in a store and steal, they're going to be held accountable, they don't do it. You didn't see 8 kids from Polk County in a store this weekend stealing, did ya? If you steal, we're your worst enemy. Merry Christmas.
Dang! Oh, that made me feel so good. That made me feel so good. Because I don't enjoy when kids do something stupid and you have to fuss at them, or an adult has to fuss at them. I don't like when kids get in trouble. I don't want kids to be in detention. I don't want them to go to jail. But adults? Oh, it's not the same. My God, you're supposed to be the voice of reason. When you see 8 of your football players got busted for shoplifting at a Dick's Sporting Goods, you're supposed to be on the side of the cops, not the thief. And I don't want to make any political assumptions here or cultural assumptions here, but apparently they come from a culture where this isn't frowned upon. Apparently, they come from a culture where you're not on the side of the cops as a default. How's that working out for you? You know, I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear any more people on social media or M Snow, whatever they're calling it now, talk about why is all the stuff locked up in CVS? They're so racist. Why don't we have a grocery store in our neighborhood? They're racist. Why do they follow me in the store? I don't know. Why don't you ask your football coach why half the stuff in your CVS is behind glass? That's the one thing that cracks me up because I'm here in downtown Dallas when I work. My house is out in Bug Tussle. And when I say out in Bug Tussle, I mean, there's like I have to pass the Clampett's original house on the way to my house. You know what's locked up at the Dollar General in Bug Tussle? Nothing. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. We do have an update from Bug Tussle coming up next. Gee, do you think they're going to cooperate with this new ICE program? Find out on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, hey there, fellow Texans. Merry Christmas. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 829.33 FM WBAP. You have my permission to absolutely ridicule anyone who calls it a holiday tree instead of a Christmas tree. Those people, I'm not saying they should be horsewhipped or anything, but I don't know. That's really starting to bug me. It's a holiday tree. For what holiday? What other holiday do you chop down a tree, put it in your living room, and put decorations on it? You don't even do that for Arbor Day, and it's about trees. What is this for Easter? Is that what, just the ethereal concept of holidays? Would it kill you to say Christmas? All right, let's go out to the sticks. We're going to drive about 90 miles, maybe 100 miles straight east of here off I-20. I have an update from Bug Tussle. It's a Bug Tussle update. The TV station is KLTV. And for those of you who wonder where Bug Tussle is, it's not one place. It's this catch-all term I use for, I'm from Smith County. I'm from an unincorporated part. So I'm just from a 30-acre hayfield. So when people say, where'd you grow up? I can kind of say nowhere. But there was one town that I went to for my school. My mail came from another town. My dad worked in another town. My mom worked in Winona. My kids are now 2 towns over from that. Between those two is Mahomes School, Patrick Mahomes School. So I also live in another small town now, and my kids go to a school in a different small town because my small town isn't big enough to have it. But the Bug Tussle we're talking about today is Bullard. You don't know Bullard that well, but here's what you need to know. It has 0 stoplights. You know how we joke about it's a 1 stoplight town? Bullard has 0. Now, it's about 2,000 people, and it used to have a stoplight until they made like an exit bridge where the highway goes kind of next to it. So, I mean, the biggest intersection in this Bug Tussle is a 4-way stop in the air quotes downtown. And so, of course, a town this small with like 2,000, maybe 3,000 people actually in the town is going to work with ICE. But they had to go to their city hall, which is just a hay barn. And they had to have the meeting yesterday. And there were like 15 people that showed up that were against it. And they made a fuss. But here's the update from Bug Tussle.
Tonight, the Bullard City Council voted unanimously to join ICE's 287G Task Force Model Program. That was after the Bullard City Council voted, as I said, unanimously to join ICE's 287G Task Force Model Program. As of this month, 23 East...
Hang on a second. Woo! That was rowdy, right? Boy, that got really out of control. It was like the battle scene from Braveheart. Just to give you some context here, a couple weeks ago, I was playing for you the protest. Actually, 1 week ago, I played for you the protesters at the New Orleans City Council. I previously lived there. So it's actually where Miss Parker's from. Hi, Miss Parker. Now, listen to some real protesters. Check this out. All right, obviously, and it keeps going. Look, that's not very nice, is it? Look, they're still going. So this lasted for minutes at the New Orleans City Council. Out in Bug Tussle, you heard the whole uproar. The whole uproar was about 7 seconds of people going, shame. Isn't it weird that they did the same thing? These people really are the Borg. They are the hive mind. They are not capable of independent thought. Did they get some, are they on an emailing list that I'm not on where it said, hey, you're going to go to the city council meeting when they talk about working with ICE and you're going to say shame? Because that's what they both did. Remember, in Bug Tussle, they said
Tonight,
shame.
The Bullard City Council voted unanimously to join ICE's 287G Task Force Model Program. That was after the Bullard City Council.
Yeah, and that was when it was dying out. And meanwhile, how was New Orleans? Oh my God, I'm so glad I left that place. Oh, that cracks me up. What did you think they were going to do in Bug Tussle? You think they weren't going to work with ICE? They only have like 4 illegal immigrants there anyway. They could probably get them all swept up in a day. Yeah, where is he? He's over there. We can see him. He's within eyesight. This town is like 1 zip code. In fact, the zip code it takes up more than the whole town. Cracks me up. Oh, can you believe these people are working with ICE? Yes, I can believe they're working with ICE. Their mayor has a second job. Her name's Tina. She goes to my church. It's hilarious. I love this world. I really do. Coming up, you're going to get an update on a meeting that happened this week in the Dallas City Council, and there's not going to be a bunch of shame protesters like that Game of Thrones episode. They had some guy come in and finally give the results of a study that had been commissioned a long time ago, and we've been trying to get these numbers for a long time. And some glorious, heroic egghead from SMU points out where the DART lines are for the trains and the buses, the DART stations, the DART stops, and they overlay that with a crime map and a homelessness map, and it's even worse than I could imagine. And so we'll break it down with local watchdog Dallas and Fuego coming up next. But we're in the home stretch for the 38th annual Cumulus Kids Toy Drive, and I'm asking for donations. If you still want to do the gift, that's fine. But they've already started, divvying those up and collecting them and starting to see what we do have and we don't have. And we're going to take the monetary donations and we're going to get the things on the kids' list that weren't donated. And some of this stuff, it's heartbreaking. Like when a kid asks for shirts. I used to hate it when I got clothes for Christmas, but no, they want like a jacket. They're like, can I just please have a hoodie? And so your monetary donations, just as good as a real gift, probably even better at this late stage. So go to WBAP.com. There's a link in the headline rotator to where you can make an online donation. You can also do it on your phone on the WBAP app, which doesn't cost anything to download anyway. Or you can text the word KIDS, KIDS, to 800-288-9227, and they'll reply back with a link to get you to the donations page. So text the word KIDS to 800-288-9227. Dallas and Fuego up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So just how bad is DART when it comes to bringing crime to your neighborhood? It's probably worse than you think. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP, your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Be sure to check them out 11 to 2 before the James Show. But my next guest is our local Dallas City Council watchdog, Dallas and Fuego's coming back on the James Show. And I thought of you when I saw this meeting that happened a couple days. And they had some egghead from SMU show up, and this dude had the receipts, Dallas. He had the map where all the DART stations are, where all the train lines are, where all the bus lines are, and then he did this overlap in a PowerPoint presentation where here's a crime heat map. Oh, here's homeless encampments. And they overlapped even worse than I thought, and I hate DART with the hot, hot heat of 1,000 suns. Subjective. Right. What was subjective about overlaying maps? I see what you did there. All right. Yeah. Now we're getting into the easy jokes. We're like, Frisco should have their Frisco area rapid transit. Okay. So where did this guy come from? I feel like we've been trying to get this information for a long time and it's been held back and somehow it just slipped through. Right. Yeah, and that makes it really suspicious here that they've just been sitting on this information. And so, I think an apology goes to anybody who is criticizing the fellow from Farmers Branch who says we need to think about leaving DART because it brings in crime and homelessness. He was just proven correct. So what's going to happen next? We just get these numbers, we find out how bad DART is, and then we shuffle it under the rug and business as usual? Oh, how was it? Okay, well that's not a hard sell there, Dallas and Fuego. So I had Monty Bennett on earlier this week. You know him from the Hero Amendments, and he started the Dallas Express and whatnot. And he was, he's on the train of not a DART train, but the Dallas Police Department still hasn't hired enough cops, and they still haven't raised pay. And now we're more than a year into this new law that says they have to. And what is their deal? Why do they refuse to hire more cops? How hard is it to give cops a raise? Good. And you have to dodge fewer bullets. All right, Dallas and Fuego, how do they find your excellent work online? You didn't throw in YouTube there? Your videos are incredible. All right, I'm a big fan of your work. Thanks for keeping an eye on Dallas City Hall. There he is, the great Dallas in Fuego. So ICE is picking up immigrants all over the place, and one of them had a bunch of people fussing this week. There were some immigrants that were lined up literally at their naturalization ceremony. ICE took them into custody and sent them home. Here are some critics losing their mind next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners, James Parker here for Rhino Shield. Your house wants Rhino Shield for Christmas. It doesn't want another tie. It doesn't need a new driveway. It wants Rhino Shield. It definitely doesn't want paint, because you already did paint before and you come back in a few years and it looks terrible. It's all faded. It's warped. It's cracking. It's flaking. It's peeling. And these are all things that Rhino Shield just doesn't do. I mean, it may on a long enough time scale, but Rhino Shield's been around for 25 years. And we know for at least 25 years, it won't do that. And why? Because it's not paint. It's a coating, and it's a two-part process. Your paint's just a one-part process. But there's a primer, and it looks like a really thin crepe, if anything. It's thicker than paint, but it won't change your surface texture. It still looks good, but it breathes. It expands when your house expands. It contracts when your house contracts. And then that gives it a little bit of insulation. On top of that, they put this nanoparticle ceramic coating. It's sort of the same technology they use on the space shuttle, to withstand the heat of re-entry. Well, this does sort of the same thing, except you're not re-entering your house from space. You're just blocking 90% of UV rays, lowering your energy costs, saving time and money, and help stop the deterioration of your house. So Rhino Shield can do all that. Your paint can't. And if you're wondering, well, I don't know, man, maybe paint's just cheaper and I should go that direction. Well, it's not cheaper if you have to do it again in 5 to 10 years. It's not, do they give you a discount? If you mention the James Show between now and the end of the holidays, you'll get 20% off. On top of that, if that's still not easy enough, they can give you monthly payments. They can finance it. The bank won't give you a loan on paint. So all your questions have been answered. If you have any more, get Gary to come to your house. He will show you how it works, give you an estimate, and then you can do the right thing. Don't paint your house. Shield your home. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. You're about to witness what may be considered a personality flaw of your humble host, and the fact that I enjoy so much, probably too much, things that upset people if it's something irrational. You know, like if your dog just got hit by a car in front of your face and you're upset, I'm not going to make fun of you. I don't enjoy that. But if you're upset because you think you're going to get stabbed by a unicorn when you leave the room, I think that's funny. You're in fantasy land. You're creating some fantasy scenario or some straw man to argue against, and you've got yourself all worked up. But in 2025, going into 2026, that personality flaw keeps being fed by these people on social media who go on and I guess they think they're saying something profound, but they've got to have some sort of breakdown and put it on social media. And this is the weirdest virtue signal here, where they pretend like something is the worst thing ever. And if you don't understand it, then you're morally bankrupt. You know, calling someone morally bankrupt doesn't win any arguments. How is it morally bankrupt to enforce our immigration laws? And so what they're talking about here is in Boston, there was a ceremony that's supposed to happen with I think it was 200 new citizens that had legally gone through the process, and they were going to be in their naturalization ceremony. They paid all the fines, done all the paperwork. But ICE shows up, and I think it was 38 of them out of the 200 happen to be from these terrible countries that are no longer allowed to have citizenship bestowed upon them. In fact, we're not going to take any new immigrants from these countries until we can get it sorted out. They need to go back. And so it was people from these countries, the Somalias of the world, the Yemens, I don't even remember all the other ones. But you have people online, and they're just so sad. This breaks their heart so much. Think of this, it was you or your mom or whatever. Just listen to these people.
Today at a naturalization ceremony in Indianapolis, 38 people were removed and not allowed to say the oath into this country, despite doing everything the right way. They were removed. Anyone still defending this administration is morally bankrupt.
And that's the end of his video. How are we morally bankrupt? They're following the law. You know, if we've noticed that you can't properly do a background check on a whole group of people, maybe we should stop bringing them in here. Because how do you know if you're getting a criminal? If you're getting one of the good guys, if you're getting someone that will actually benefit our society, or someone who will be a drain on our society, a negative on our society. I mean, how do you know it's not one of the people who think, yeah, rape, yeah, that's fine. There's no problem with rape. Do you rape girls? Yeah, sure. We all rape girls. It's just a fun thing we do. Me and the boys like to get together, and sometimes we get a little rapey, you know? Is it from countries like that? Is it from a culture like that? And for those of you who think I'm making it up.
You rape girls?
Some of us, yeah, some of us.
Do you know how many times you've done that? How many times have you raped girls?
I did it maybe 2 or 3 times.
I did it once. I did it 4 times.
Yeah, it's just like it's nothing. Like it's going to Top Golf. Yeah, I think I've been like once or twice. I've been 4 times. Here's another good one. He said Indianapolis there, but I think we're all talking about all these viral videos were about the same Boston situation. Here's another good one.
Everybody needs to hear what just happened and be equally, if not more, outraged than I am.
Look, whenever a post starts like that, I guarantee you I'm not going to be equally or more outraged than you are, lady.
Everybody needs to hear what just happened and be equally, if not more, outraged than I am. In Boston, at Faneuil Hall, people lined up to swear their oath, which is the final step of citizenship. It means that they have passed all the background checks, all the tests, all the interviews. Some have waited years and years and years, have been working here, paying taxes, contributing to society, and they are at the final step, waiting in line at Faneuil Hall to swear their oath. And who showed up? Frozen water agents, pulling them out of line and asking them which country they're from. And if that country was on this administration's world blacklist, they were taken out of line and told to go home, that they would not be swearing their oath. They did it the right way. MAGA has been screaming for years, if they're going to come into this country, they better do it the right way. They did it the right way. They were on the final step just to swear their oath. They have passed everything else. What do you want from them? What do you want from them? What do you want from them?
A background
Now
check.
you get in these comments and tell me how it's different. That you've been screaming this entire time to do it the right way. And when they do it the right way, they get to the final step. I'm talking the final step. They're just swearing their oath. There's no more tests. There's nothing. A final step. And they're like, nah, go home.
Yeah, they're doing it the right way. They're legally here. What do you want from them? Here's what I want from them. This is just a huge news flash. A background check. Is that too much to ask? And if your country can't provide one, then I'm sorry. I'm not taking any more chances with our wives, our mothers, and our daughters. What about the guy that lit the woman on fire and killed her on the train in Brooklyn? Was he here legally? Did he do it the right way? What about the guys that ran over the 4 people in Austin, the truck driver? He was here legally. Did he do it the right way? Was that beneficial for our country? What about the guy that did it in Terrell and killed some people? What about the guy that did it in Florida and killed some people? Were they here the right way? What about all the Somali immigrants that have looted the American taxpayer to the tune of maybe past $8 billion? It's 1 point something confirmed, already convicted in a court of law. The number one funder of Al-Shabaab in 2024 was the Minnesota taxpayer through these Somali immigrants that came here the right way. How do you know it wasn't more of those? How do you know these people weren't the pro-rape crowd? Again, how do you know it wasn't, 38 more of these dudes? I mean, are you not worried about that?
You rape girls?
Some of us, yeah, some of us.
Do you know how many times you've done that? How many times have you raped girls?
I did it maybe 2 or 3 times. I did it once.
Yeah, I love this fake outrage. Like, did you know that 70% of the people deported aren't even criminals? Are they here illegally? Then deport them. I'm not shocked. I am not outraged. Donald Trump didn't lie to the American people. He said he would go after the criminals first. He would target them. But that doesn't mean you got to leapfrog all the legal ones that you come across in the meantime. And when he says from these hellhole countries that we can't run background checks from, we're going to stop taking people from these countries until we can establish some sort of order. And so what? He's actually following through on what he said last week. I'm supposed to be outraged about that? Are they really outraged? Or are they just showing off to their phone to try and get clout? Because I really don't get that. I really don't see how they can genuinely be outraged. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. More immigration updates next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. All right, we're in the middle. Actually, we're at the very end of the 38th annual Cumulus Kids Toy Drive. We just have a couple days left here, and then I'll leave you alone until next year. And that means you only have a couple opportunities left of me reminding you that you thought about it. It's the right thing to do. You can spare $20. You just haven't done it yet. Stop putting it off. Go to WBAP.com, WBAP app, or text the word KIDS, KIDS, to 800-288-9227. We have some volunteers who are going to take your donation, go out and get the things that were missed on the Christmas list for these kiddos. And then we're going to go to Charles Nash Elementary and MLK Arts Academy and make sure these kids have a good Christmas. So go to WBAP.com, the WBAP app, or text KIDS, KIDS, to 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, on your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. They're on from 11 to 2. They cover a lot of news. They cover a lot of ground, a lot of things you need to know, but they throw in a lot of humor, a lot of sarcasm. If you like the James Show, you'll probably like them. If you haven't listened already, give them a shot. They're on from 11 to 2 here on WBAP. But I see the continuing pattern of part of the thing that makes political discourse so difficult is how often your political opponents will massively misunderstand your position and then go argue against it. And this is called the straw man logical fallacy. But I don't think I've ever seen it happen more than I did since Trump came into power. Because most of the wheezing, crying, hyperventilating crash outs that I see on social media are people getting upset about things that you don't even believe. And they're accusing you of things that you don't even believe. I mean, how often do you get called, or your position, your political opinion, get called racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, and you're none of those? I'm none of those. Racism is stupid. I don't believe in it. I don't believe people have endemic traits based on the color of their skin that render them better or worse than other groups. I'm definitely not a sexist. Women should have their full complement of equal rights. I have a mom. I have a beautiful redhead wife that I would like to enjoy her full complement of human rights. I have 2 daughters. I would like for them to grow up in a world where they're not oppressed, where they don't have to dress like a ninja just to go to Whole Foods. I'm not homophobic. I'm not transphobic. I'm not Islamophobic. And so somehow these people have been convinced, because I haven't shown them the evidence and you certainly haven't either, but they've been convinced by their political allies that you believe things you don't believe. And so that, sort of broadly speaking, has always been a thorn in your side. But they're getting really awfully specific with the straw men lately. The idea that they can turn on their phone and get upset about immigrants being deported at their immigration ceremony, if they don't understand why you're not upset, then there is a shortcoming with them. Because listen to how emotional this woman is.
Everybody needs to hear what just happened and be equally, if not more, outraged than I am.
Yeah, I'm not going to be outraged. And by the end of this 40-second clip, I'm not going to be the least bit outraged. I'm going to be like, that sounds so normal. That sounds like exactly what I expected. Like, not only am I not surprised by that, I'd be surprised if this wasn't happening, lady.
In Boston, at Faneuil Hall, people lined up to swear their oath, which is the final step of citizenship. It means that they have passed all the background checks, all the tests, all the interviews. Some have waited years and years and years, have been working here, paying taxes, contributing to society, and they are at the final step, waiting in line at Faneuil Hall to swear their oath. And who showed up? Frozen water agents.
Isn't that weird? Frozen water agents, ice agents. You get what she did there? She just, she don't want to get flagged by the algorithm.
Pulling them out of line and asking them which country they're from.
Okay, let me just stop it right there. What is wrong with that? She's acting like, can you believe this is happening? Yeah, actually, I can't believe that's happening. That's kind of ICE's job. I figure if you're an ICE agent, this is probably what you do on a normal Tuesday. This is the most normal thing in the world. Oh, can you believe an immigration and customs enforcement officer is going out finding immigrants that aren't supposed to be here and sending them home? Yeah, not only am I not shocked, I'm cheering it on, lady. That's the best news I've heard all day. I'm supposed to be shocked and outraged. That's good news.
And if that country was on this administration's world blacklist, they were taken out of line and told to go home.
Thank God. Oh, good. It's not just an executive order that they're ignoring. I am thrilled to learn that they're enforcing that law. Because you know who else was coming here and they were doing everything the right way and they did all their paperwork? The guy that shot the National Guardsman on Thanksgiving. He came here the right way. Apparently, there's a shortcoming in our ability to vet people from certain countries. And it's already cost the National Guardsmen their life. It's cost God knows how many other criminal Afghanis and Somalis and whoever else from those other hellhole countries. And yes, some countries are hellholes. And if you want to call in and have that conversation, go ahead. You're going to lose. But yeah, not only am I not outraged, I am relieved this happened. I am relieved they are taking it this serious. Because when he's talking about we need to pause immigration from some of these bad countries, you and I were thinking, Well, I hope it's at least just the new arrivals. I would really like it if he went through and stopped anyone that hasn't gone through the whole process and removed them too. What I'd really like for him to go through some of the people from these countries who have recently gone through that process. And if there wasn't a proper background check, how about revoking their citizenship? How about denaturalizing them? How about saying, we know you said you could be a citizen, but that was under the crazy guy who was just running into walls like a Roomba. We've gone back and we've realized that y'all don't actually have a working database in your third world hellhole of a home country. It's just a 56K modem hooked up to a speak and spell. And so you're going to have to go home until you come up with a better system. Like, not only am I not outraged, I'm relieved that is happening. And she just doesn't get it. If you don't understand it, what do you mean if you don't understand? No, you clearly don't understand my position.
That they would not be swearing their oath. They did it the right way. MAGA has been screaming for years, if they're going to come into this country, they better do it the right way.
No, get out of here. Coming up next on the James Show, Trump seizes a Venezuelan oil tanker. And I get a big I told you so moment yet, being that I told you this wasn't about drugs. You'll hear if war with Venezuela is next. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. What do you think about war with Venezuela? Yeah, I don't think that there is going to be war with Venezuela, but I think that's actually on the table. I want to take you back to just a couple shows ago. Actually, when did I do this one? On the 4th? So it was, exactly a week ago. I put a little thumbtack in this comment here. Trump was being asked about the Venezuelan boat strikes, and he mentioned, hey, we may have land strikes coming soon. Remember this? This was, the audio comes from December 3rd.
Every boat we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives.
That's right.
And if you look at our numbers, the drugs coming in through sea are down 91%. I'm surprised there's 9% you want to. I don't know who's doing the 9%, but it's down 91, and we're going to start very soon on land, and I'm sure you're thrilled to hear that.
And so I was telling you, this isn't about drugs. There's nothing to do with drugs. Drugs are the excuse. But what's really going on is something that I guess can't be proven yet, or doesn't want to be proven yet, or it will be admitted on a long enough time scale. We're just trying to get our feet wet and see if we can accomplish some goals without escalating this. But make no mistake about it, he wasn't kidding when he said we could see strikes on land soon. And so now we're left to theorize what's going on here if this isn't really about drugs. Because I knew it wasn't about drugs, and if you listen to the James Show, you probably heard me say this 10 times, but there's new people that listen every day. But I was suspecting this wasn't about drugs after the first boat strike, because if you were doing this to stop drugs from coming in, if you're doing this just to save, the American people from fentanyl poisoning, wouldn't you be bombing boats from Colombia first? Wouldn't you be bombing installations and boats coming out of Mexico? So the place of origin, and then also the last stop before it crosses the border for most of the drugs would be Mexico. So no, he's going after Venezuela. And Venezuela, turns out that they're now turned into, they were a gas station fronting as a country, but now they're half gas station, half cartel fronting as a country. And as their oil production infrastructure dwindles and the outside world will no longer help them maintain and or rebuild it, Maduro's decided that he's going to make up some of that lost revenue by getting in the drug game. And so he's a good clearinghouse there. And so if you combine the disparate reporting that we're seeing from different outlets, including some great work from the Dallas Express, that seems more of a motivation. And the motivation, the end game, isn't to stop drugs and stop fentanyl overdose. I mean, that might be a good side product. But this isn't about drugs. This is about getting Maduro out of there. And so I think seizing an oil tanker proves that. If this was about drugs, why are you seizing an oil tanker? But if you're seizing an oil tanker and drugs, well, now it's clear you're just trying to choke this guy off. You're just trying to cut off his income from the two biggest industries that are keeping this hack socialist regime afloat. So that's what this is really about. Is Maduro going to step down under pressure? Maybe. Is there going to have to be some land strikes and then maybe he'll step down under pressure? Maybe. If there's some land strikes and people around him force him out of office and he has to go into exile, that seems like it could be a possibility because we've seen that happen before too. We've also seen this weird redemption arc that's happened in your lifetime. A great example of that would be Gaddafi, a guy who was supporting terrorism, the bombing of the Pan Am Flight 103 over Lockerbie, Scotland, saying terrible things, chanting death to America. Couple of strikes on him by Ronald Reagan, killed his stepdaughter or half-daughter or something like that, blew up a bunch of his palaces with missiles. He turned that ship around, didn't he? Stopped supporting terrorism, stopped chanting death to America. And while he wasn't a full-throated pro-American ally, he wasn't a problem anymore. So I think that's another avenue that we could go down, but I think that's the less likely scenario. I want to mark this. Come back in a year. You think Maduro's still going to be in power? I don't. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. We are in the last 48 hours of the Cumulus Kids Toy Drive. It's our 38th annual toy drive. I want to thank you so much to the sponsors here because, they're doing a lot of work and they're not getting a whole lot of the credit here. But we couldn't have done it without the Sandpack Auto Group having locations all over the Metroplex for people to drop toys off because hundreds of toys were dropped off at different locations. Thank you very much to Kroger for your help, for letting us do remote broadcasts, for helping us collect toys as well. Thank you for Dan Harker and the Empower Home team. Thank you to everyone else. If I forgot to mention, there's going to be nameless, faceless angels who I don't even know and I won't even meet, but they're about to take your donations. They're going to cross-reference it against these kids' lists, see what's already been donated, and then go in and do the shopping and fill in the gaps. They're going to take time away from their kids and their family this weekend to do that. All we're asking of you, you got $20? Go to WBAP.com, the WBAP app, or text KIDS, KIDS, to 800-288-9227. Coming up next on The James Show, the victim's father and what's being called a Lewisville/Flower Mound hazing incident, which doesn't really sound like hazing at all. Doug Turner next on The James Show. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So when does hazing become a crime? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. We started off the show with this and listened to a bunch of callers when we went back and forth, and we kind of agreed. It's not hazing unless there's consent. It's not hazing if it's involuntary. And let me go ahead and play you the original report here from WFA that kicked off the discussion. I'll explain to you the info that we got back from callers, and then you're going to hear from the kid's father right after this.
Speaking of, two North Texas parents say their son is recovering from a traumatic hazing incident carried out by his football teammates in Lewisville ISD. It was caught on camera, and we need to warn you, this video is hard to watch. The family shared it with our Luke Clary because they feel it's important to see.
Nobody's taking this seriously. So what are we left to do?
They say seeking accountability has been like a full-time job since learning their teen was hurt and humiliated in a hazing in mid-October.
Meeting with administrators, emailing, following up with the police detectives, and not getting anywhere.
Flower Mound parents Amy and Doug are going by just their first names to protect their son's identity. Providing this video of the incident. We're showing a blurred version to give context while protecting the identities of the students involved.
Good. The reason it needs to be shown is the fear that he's going through.
They say it happened after a football team dinner. The junior stripped of his clothes by a group of seniors and shot repeatedly with a pellet gun.
Did he say how painful that was?
He said it was so painful. And you can hear by the screams.
He's woken up several times in the night. Don't shoot, don't shoot.
Lewisville ISD said it conducted an extensive investigation involving interviews with more than 90 students and staff, as well as 13 families who came forward. The district says it did not find evidence of systemic hazing, but it did find a history of hazing incidents among a small group of student athletes. It said appropriate disciplinary action was taken, but did not say what that was, citing federal privacy laws. The Double Oak Police Department would not confirm the status of its case, but emails from detectives to the family, shared with WFAA, indicate a criminal investigation is underway. Just not fast enough for Doug and Amy.
When will you be able to say the job is complete?
I think when arrests are made and when administration takes further action with the leadership.
A job they never asked for, and one they're not ready to quit until their son sees justice. In Flower Mound, I'm Luke Clary.
All right, so how much of that was consensual? Did he go to the place? Did he consent to go there to hang out with these guys? Did he consent to take his clothes off? Did he consent to not leave? Did he consent, like after the BB started flying, to remain in the room? Was he kidnapped? Was he forced to stay in the room? So we had a caller call in, Tom from Flower Mound, and he said the guys tricked him into going out there. They told him something else was going to happen, not this. So, okay, that's a big red flag. Tom also said when they got there, they took his keys and threw him in the ditch so he couldn't leave. So now all consent is out the window. We are in kidnapping territory here. And then when the gun comes out, like if they forced his clothes off, that's even worse. And then the shooting, and they blocked the exits and didn't make him leave. Well, then this isn't hazing at all. You shouldn't even call it hazing. This is just a straight up assault. This wasn't what the normal football hazing ritual is. This isn't what the kids normally go through. Kidnapping and forcing him to stay there and forcing his clothes off and not letting him leave. Well, now that changes everything. There's no consent at all. This isn't some hazing incident that got out of hand at all. It shouldn't even be reported as such if what Tom from Flower Mound said bears out to be true. So with that, we have the young man's dad, Doug Turner, is joining us on the James Show. And so this has got to be, tough for you to talk about here. So what's your thoughts, first off, on the original report from WFAA, and how accurate is the follow-up information we got from our caller from Flower Mound? Can you fill all that out, Doug? All right, Doug, you have all my sympathy here, except I don't think you should be messing with the school at all. You should just go straight to the cops, make a beeline, and I would leave the administrators that they're not long. Go ahead. Wait. She's the detective? You said a detective. Yeah, they only have 9 people. Yeah. How many? All right. Can I hit pause, Dad? This is Doug Turner. He's the father of the student that is wrapped up in this Lewisville ISD. They call it a hazing incident, but if it doesn't sound like hazing at all, it sounds like just straight up assault and battery. Doug, I got 15 seconds. I got to take a break. We'll be right back with Doug Turner, the victim's father, on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So we're talking about a hazing story that doesn't sound like hazing at all. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I played the long version of the story from WFAA last night. We're talking to the student's father, Doug. Let me play the short version to give the summary to people who just joining the show.
This morning, two parents say their son is recovering after a traumatic hazing incident by his Lewisville ISD football team. A warning, the blurred video is hard to watch, but his parents say it is important to see.
The reason it needs to be shown is the fear that he's going through.
Nobody's taking this seriously. So what are we left to do?
The parents say it happened after a team dinner in October. Their junior was stripped and shot with a pellet gun by a group of seniors. Lewisville ISD says it investigated and interviewed more than 90 students and staff and 13 families. It found no evidence of systemic hazing, but confirmed a history of incidents among a small group of athletes and took appropriate disciplinary action.
All right, so now we're continuing with the father, Doug. Now, you haven't been able to get any action out of the school, which I'm not really that surprised by. I am more surprised that the local police aren't doing much. However, you're in one of the smallest suburbs North Texas has to offer. And, the Double Oak Police Department, are they somehow connected to these kids? Or are they lazy? Are they protecting them? What's the theory? Perfect. I'm kind of sympathetic to that argument. Now Doug, I hate to cut you off here. I'm from a really small town, and I realize this is like a town of 3,000 people, but it's not really the same sort of rural setting where everyone knows everyone that I'm from. At some point, have you gone to the parents of the kids that were doing the shooting? Hmm. They flipped you off. All right, Doug. Look, I don't know if I even need to tell you this, but just the manliness, toxic masculinity is about to volcano out of my head right now. Well, hang on, hang on. Look, I just know in a small town, I would say you fix this, or you three are going to have problems as long as I'm alive. Period. Point. Okay. Well, hang on. You want to take it? Well, we got to take a break. Bombshell come. Okay, bombshell coming up in 3.5 minutes. I'm talking to Doug, the student's father, who's in this sort of hazing, more like a flat out assault and battery situation up in the Flower Mound, Double Oak area. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So when is hazing criminal? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Fun little show that's on from 11 to 2 before me. Be sure to check them out. But we're continuing with the student's father, Doug. Now, Doug, we have 4 minutes total left in this entire show, so don't put everything on the table in this segment. So you were at the meeting, the breakfast with the dads, with the other football kids and their fathers who had been harassing or battering and assault, kidnapping, whatever. Your son, you turned around and they flipped you off. Why'd they flip you off? Yeah, right. Listen, I hate to cut you off. We're just running out of time here. I don't blame the coach because he it has to go off what everyone's saying. And if there's not a warrant, there's not an arrest, there's no charges, there's no indictment, there's absolutely nothing. I do not. That doesn't sound right. Yeah, the wheels of justice turn slowly, but doesn't sound like they're turning at all for you. What's next, Doug? Yeah, well, look, I would say you're beating your head against the wall if you try and do anything through the school because they have the built-in excuse. If there hasn't been anything legally done, then what are we supposed to do? We're not judge, jury, and execution over here, and I'm sympathetic to that case too. But if law enforcement doesn't step up, Texas Rangers doesn't step up, there's still the old man-to-man option, and I think that's probably the worst way that they want this solved. But I mean, I'm sure you've imagined quite a few ways to get some sort of retribution that can keep you out of trouble. I hope it doesn't get to that because I would be thinking some very evil thoughts if this was my kid. Oh, well, you're way better than me. I have negative thoughts all the time. Uh, All right, we're out of time here, but dude, I don't know why you're so nice, because I think a lot of dads who are in your situation, if they were being treated the same way, it would be completely reasonable for things to start catching fire, for things to start blowing up, for cars to catch fire, for bricks to go through windows, for people to be followed. There's, if the law doesn't want to take care of this, the consequences are worse. Let me tell you a story. Doug, we're going to end with this. When I was growing up in Bug Tussle, there was a kid who transferred to my Bug Tussle high school because from another Bug Tussle high school, I'll say it was Jacksonville. He was getting bullied when he was a freshman by the upperclassmen on the football team, and it was bad, and he got beat up a bunch, and he was being humiliated a bunch, and he got the swirly. And one day, one of the guys walked out of the shower in the locker room, and the kid's there holding his football helmet, and he just swings and bangs him in the head with him while he's naked, knocks him out cold, and he hits him another time in the back of the head with the helmet. He never got picked on again, but he did have to switch schools. And look, thank you very much, Doug. If the law doesn't take care of stuff like this, the options are a lot worse, because someone will. Criminals do not go unpunished forever, whether we have policemen or not. We still have grown men with anger problems, and you do not want this to escalate to that. What a terrible story. I'll try and keep up with this. Thank you for sharing, Doug. That's going to do it for the James Show. Stick around. Mark Levin's up next. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.